Hello, I hope you all are doing well. Firstly, congratulations on clearing the stage one of your IPMAT journey, that is the aptitude test of Rohtak. Well, the battle is not yet over, and you are already aware of the fact that there is a stage two, and that is interview. Uh, unlike our IPMAT aptitude test, which is very simple, very organized. There is a certain syllabus, there is a certain number of chapters, there is a division in the course syllabus like QA, VA, LR. And for a mentor like me, it becomes little simple and organized to guide you क्योंकि ये chapters करना है, ये करना है to clearing the stage one. But on the other hand, if the same advices I would give for IPMAT Rohtak interview, then outcome would become very biased because I'm a science student. I'm having certain type of profile. What we decided is that we called our few of our students who already cleared IPMAT Rohtak and were able to also ace their interview. Hence, got into IIM Rohtak.
Hello everyone, I am Gupta. You all must be knowing me, of course. So, talking about my interview experience of IIM Rohtak, it started off pretty well. They told me to introduce myself, and based upon what I spoke, so I said that I'm a national level shooter and I've got an award for my social work during the pandemic, and I have been received an award of COVID warrior. So they told me to do an extempore on the topic of what I have learned during the pandemic. Apart from that, they asked me about my favorite subjects. When I told them that business studies and French was my favorite subject, they told me to introduce myself in French. I guess the teacher over there knew French or something like that. Apart from that, the professor who was taking the interview asked me various questions on business studies. They told me to name the principles of marketing. Then they told me to explain what planning is, how can you implement planning, and whatnot. Apart from that, I guess they were pretty impressed from my interview. So then they told me to just give them any two recent headlines I've read about. They didn't ask me any specific general knowledge question. And I guess with that, my interview ended. It was pretty nice. And the panelists were very sweet. They just want to know more about you, and there's no need of being scared at all.
Hi everyone. If I look back at my IIM Rohtak's interview, I think I can say that the panel was really warm and welcoming. In the beginning of my interview, they told me to show my screen and to show them my class 10th and 12th mark sheets. And I already had them on my desktop, but because I was so nervous and so anxious, it took me a whole lot of 3 minutes to actually share the screen and to show them the file. They were really calm and patient throughout, really kind. So it gave me a lot of confidence for the better part of the interview that was coming. They asked me about my introduction, in which I had mentioned three things. Number one was that I was a part of student council, which gave me a lot of opportunities to organize and participate in events. Secondly, I had mentioned that I was a part of debating committee and I was participating in declamations and debates throughout. And lastly, I had mentioned that art was a really important aspect of my life and it has a lot of influence. They then moved to the past academics and threw at me a lot of questions from accountancy. So what is current ratio? What is quick ratio? What is difference between the two? What are the types of depreciation that are out there? And so on and so forth. Next, we moved on to the category of general awareness, and they asked me about this famous sports person who was in news at that point in time, to which I could answer correctly. But I think I answered only 3 out of 6 questions correctly from the category of general awareness, and to rest of them I was like, I'm not that sure about it, I'll check and get back to you about it, or I'll surely search on Google, I'm sorry, I don't know about it. And they were pretty okay with it. They were like, okay, next question is there.
So in my interview, there were two panelists. They started off with asking general questions. They asked me my name, they asked me where I was from, they asked me how's the weather here, and basic questions. After that, they went ahead and asked me my introduction. Once I was done with my introduction, they asked me to show my 10th and 12th mark sheet on the camera, along with any extracurricular certificates that I had. After this, I told them that I had taken a drop year, and they asked me what did I do in my drop year. I told them that I was preparing for CA Foundation and I had cleared it as well. So they gave me an extempore topic and asked me why do I think that CA is better than IPM. While I was talking about this, they cut me in between. So tip number 1, make sure even if the interviewers do cut you in between, do not fumble, stay confident and go ahead with answering whatever questions that they ask you. Moving ahead, they asked me a few academic questions. So since I was from commerce with maths background and from Maharashtra board, they asked me a few basic questions like the relationship between mean, median, mode. Why do I think that mode is important? They asked me to prove sine squared theta plus cos squared theta is equal to 1, and so on. They asked me questions from accountancy and economics as well. They asked me what is monopolistic competition, what is the profit point of monopolistic competition. They asked me what is the year of the Partnership Act, and questions from accountancy like what is the difference between bookkeeping and accountancy, and what is journalizing, why do you think it is important, and very basic question. After this, they went ahead and asked me a few current affair questions. So make sure that you're aware about all the current happenings in India as well as in the world. They asked me the Chief Justice of India. They asked me a few ministers from Maharashtra, since I am from Maharashtra. They asked me the CM of Maharashtra, the Deputy CM of Maharashtra, and very generic questions. Also, make sure that you have a thorough knowledge of every single event that has happened in the last 6 months. After this, the last question which they asked me was, if I was traveling from Pune to Rohtak, how will I be doing that, and which states will I be crossing while doing the same? And that's all about my interview. Thank you.
Just before a few days of my IIM Rohtak's interview, I was advised to keep a set of all my certificates, including achievements, extracurriculars, co-curriculars, alongside with me during the interview. Now, how this has helped me, I will let you know by the end of this video. My interview started with the extempo section, which was quite smooth for me. After that, we headed on to the academic section, where I was asked questions on my 11th and 12th standard from the commerce department. I was thorough on that and was expecting a lot of questions, but to my surprise, there were just 2 or 3 of them. The interview then moved on to the GK section. I had about 10 to 12 questions that I could not answer at a stretch, and this lowered my chances to a very large extent. But then I knew that I had to crack it. Thus, I steered the interview into the direction that was my forte, which was the extracurricular section. In the extracurricular section, I mentioned that I am a Bharatanatyam dancer and I've also completed my graduation in Bharatanatyam. I have a certification from UNESCO and they were quite impressed by it. They asked me to actually dance and perform a recital, sing and also explain what that recital meant. They were quite impressed by the performance, and this is how my selection in IIM Rohtak took place.
तो देखो यार, मेरा इंटरव्यू एक्सपीरियंस बहुत ही ज़्यादा इंटरेस्टिंग था. माई इंटरव्यू वॉज द फर्स्ट इंटरव्यू इन द फर्स्ट स्लॉट ऑफ द फर्स्ट डे. तो ऐसा हुआ था कि मैं पहले से वेटिंग रूम में था एंड पैनलिस्ट ने ज्वाइन किया था. वरना क्या होता है, ऐसे उल्टा होता है कि बच्चे ज्वाइन करते हैं पैनलिस्ट को. सो व्हेन दे ज्वाइंड दे आस्क्ड मी हाउ आर यू रुद्राक्ष. सो आई सेड ऑल वेल सर. फिर उन्होंने पूछा ओके रुद्राक्ष टेल अस समथिंग अबाउट योरसेल्फ. तो मैंने जितना भी अपना प्रिपेयर करके रखा था सब उनको बता दिया. और मैंने मेंशन भी किया कि सर आई एम फ्रॉम कानपुर. तो दे क्विज्ड मी ऑन कानपुर एंड उत्तर प्रदेश, लाइक मेयर, नंबर ऑफ MPs, MLAs, उन सब चीज़ों पे. फिर आया एक्सटेम्परी राउंड एंड दे आस्क्ड मी टू स्पीक फॉर 1.5 मिनट्स ऑन दी अग्निपथ स्कीम जो उस समय चल रही थी. एंड बिलीव मी दैट वॉज अमेजिंग. वो इतना अच्छा गया मैं बता नहीं सकता. एंड देन दे आस्क्ड मी इकोनॉमिक्स क्वेश्चन कि ओके रुद्राक्ष टेल मी व्हाट इज लॉ ऑफ डिमिनिशिंग मार्जिनल यूटिलिटी. तो मैंने कहा सर लॉ ऑफ डिमिनिशिंग मार्जिनल यूटिलिटी से मुझे कल रात की बात याद आती है जब मैं खाना खाने बैठा था. मेरा यूजुअली 2 रोटी में पेट भर जाता है, बट क्या था ना, मम्मी ने कहा कि बेटा एक और रोटी खा ले. मेरी 2 रोटी पे सेटिस्फैक्शन मैक्सिमम थी, बट मम्मी ने कहा तीसरी रोटी खा लो, तो मैंने खा ली. बट वहाँ पे मेरी सेटिस्फैक्शन डिक्लाइन करने लग गई. मैंने मना करने पर भी मम्मी ने चौथी रोटी मेरे को ला के दे दी. उस पॉइंट पे मेरे सर यूटिलिटी ना 0 हो गई थी. अब मम्मी ज़बरदस्ती करके 5वीं रोटी ले आए. मैंने मम्मी से साफ कह दिया मम्मी देखे अगर मैंने ये 5वीं रोटी खा ली तो मेरी यूटिलिटी नेगेटिव में चली जाएगी. द मोमेंट आई सेड इट दे ऑल बर्स्ट इनटू लाफ्टर. फिर उन्होंने मेरे से 1-2 PNC प्रोबेबिलिटी पे सवाल पूछे एंड द इंटरव्यू एंडेड. दे इवन कॉम्प्लीमेंटेड मी आफ्टर द इंटरव्यू एंड इट ऑल was like 10 to 12 minutes in between. 10 से 12 मिनट चला था.
Hi guys, talking about my interview experience at IIM Rohtak. So I was the last person in my panel, तो मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा वेट करना पड़ा था मेरे इंटरव्यू के लिए. और जैसे इंटरव्यू स्टार्ट हुआ उन्होंने मुझसे इंट्रोडक्शन वगैरह कुछ भी नहीं पूछा. स्ट्रेट अप उन्होंने मुझे एक्सटेम्पोरी का टॉपिक दे दिया और उसके बारे में फिर क्रॉस क्वेश्चंस पूछे. उसके बाद दे आस्क्ड मी माय फेवरेट सब्जेक्ट. तो मैंने बिजनेस स्टडीज़ बोला क्योंकि मुझे इसके अलावा कुछ याद नहीं था, मैं ड्रॉपर था. तो और बिजनेस के बहुत बेसिक्स क्वेश्चन पूछे उन्होंने. तो हाँ, वो पार्ट मेरा काफ़ी अच्छा गया. फिर उसके बाद दे केम टू करंट अफेयर्स. करंट अफेयर्स में कुछ क्वेश्चंस मुझे नहीं आए, तो मैंने बोला सॉरी रिकॉल नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ अभी और ये सब. फिर मैथ्स पर आए. मैथ्स में उन्होंने मुझे कुछ बहुत ऐसे कॉम्प्लिकेटेड नंबर्स दिए और उनका सम, एडिशन, सब्ट्रैक्शन, मतलब सब कुछ मिला के बोले कि इसका क्या आंसर आएगा अप्रॉक्सीमेट. तो पेन पेपर अलाउड नहीं था यूज़ करना उस टाइम पे, मतलब उस पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन के लिए उन्होंने बोला पेन पेपर यूज़ नहीं करना है, और अप्रोक्सीमेट बताओ क्या आंसर आएगा। मैंने बोला ये आ सकता है, इस फिगर के अराउंड आएगा। तो उन्होंने बोला क्या थॉट प्रोसेस था, कैसे सॉल्व करा, मतलब कैसे हो सकता है बिना पेन पेपर के, आपका क्या थॉट प्रोसेस था। तो मैंने वो समझाया कि हाँ मैंने ऐसा सोचा कि ये रीजनिंग दी इसको लेके। उसके बाद उन्होंने मुझसे पूछा कि वाई सम ऑफ एक्सटीरियर एंगल्स 360 डिग्री इन अ पॉलीगॉन। तो वो मुझे नहीं पता था एग्जैक्ट क्यों होता है ऐसा। तो उन्होंने मुझे बोला कि हाँ सोचो इसके बारे में और क्यों हो सकता है। तो मैंने वापस से पेन पेपर पे ड्रॉ करा, फिर उनको दिखाया कि ऐसा मैंने सोचा ये कुछ हो सकता है। तो उन्होंने बोला ओके। उसके बाद बस ऐसे ही मेरा इंटरव्यू निकल गया। और एट द एंड पूरा इंटरव्यू ऐसा बेसिक सा निकला मेरा, मतलब ना वो ज़्यादा पॉजिटिव रेस्पॉन्स दे रहे थे ना ज़्यादा नेगेटिव रेस्पॉन्स दे रहे थे, ना ग्रिल करा ना कुछ। तो इंटरव्यू देने के बाद भी मुझे लग रहा था क्या पता अच्छा गया है या नहीं गया है, बट ठीक है हो गया लास्ट में। तो एक टिप यही है मेरे साइड से तो कि आपका इंटरव्यू कैसा भी जाए, बी कॉन्फिडेंट और स्माइल करते रहो। और अगर आपको क्वेश्चंस के आंसर्स नहीं भी आ रहे हैं तो कॉन्फिडेंटली सॉरी कह दो कि ठीक है इस टाइम पे रिकॉल नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, क्योंकि वो एक्सपेक्ट नहीं करते हैं आपसे कि आप सारे क्वेश्चंस के आंसर दो, बट वो एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं कि आप कॉन्फिडेंट रहो और आप सिचुएशंस को अच्छी तरह से हैंडल करो। तो थैंक यू सो मच।
So I hope after listening to these stories, you got a wide idea on what all fronts you have to prepare for this battle. Let me summarize all these for you. The first way, you have to be thorough with your class 11-12 subjects. And by thorough, I don't mean that you have to be expert or you don't have to carry every single detail of your class 11-12, but rather at least at surface level, if there is any definition that is being tested, if there is any very obvious things that you should know as a class 11-12, from economics, let's say marginal utility, so definitions like these which are very direct, which are there in your textbook, you should be aware of it. Second front being current affairs, which is I guess very wide and very difficult to prepare. But in current affairs, I would like you to narrow down the area of preparation. The first being, you have to make sure you're aware of your state, city, about who is mayor of your city, about what is so famous in your city, what is so great in your state, connectivities in your state. Like a very normal question that can come is that if you had to come from your place to Rohtak, what all communications you would use or what all rivers you would cross. That kind of question can also come. Third thing, apart from that, is whatever you are mentioning in your CV, if there is any single minute detail in your CV which directs toward any area, you should be aware of that. Because they're going to ask you anything that if say you mentioned that you have done coding or any sort of a competitive contest or anything, they will ask you questions on that. So make sure that whatever is in your CV, you're well versed with that. Okay. Lastly and foremost, I think so one of the major thing apart from all these stories is that having a positive attitude. Because according to me, you should have a very positive image about yourself. Irrespective of whatever 10-12% you got, I would still recommend it to you that look out for the best, most good things about you. Let's say you are a salesperson and you have to pitch a car to someone, right? You have to pitch a product to someone. अब उस प्रोडक्ट के अंदर कुछ कमियां होंगी, तो क्या आप मुझे वो प्रोडक्ट बेचने के लिए वो कमियां शो करेंगे या सिर्फ अपनी क्वालिटी शो करेंगे? ऑब्वियस सी बात है, आप मुझे क्वालिटी पिच करेंगे ताकि मैं प्रोडक्ट को पसंद करके परचेज कर सकूं. Somehow pitch some keywords in your answers that can lead your interview towards that, and that's how you control your entire interview. Lastly, foremost, whenever you answer anything in the interview, say it HR, say it about anything it is the interviewer is asking, I would want you to have मेरी एक strong base होना चाहिए. अगर सिर्फ मैं ये अपने इंटरव्यू में कहता हूँ, let's say introduction में, कि I'm really good at academics, I don't think so you would be having that kind of a digestion with that just fine. But on the other hand, if I talk about given the fact that I was able to score 96% in my class 10th and 98% in my class 12th, I can assure you the fact that I'm really good at academics. They are not going to expect you to be a master of everything, right? They just require your positive attitude. If you don't know anything, you shouldn't over worry in front of the interviewers, because that's just their way of lowering down your confidence, right? So you don't have to get under pressure when anomaly or any random question is tested. That's it from my end. That's it from all the stories. And these information that you are preparing right now for Rohtak should be having an allocated time. मतलब आपके इंदौर का प्रिपरेशन अलग चलना चाहिए और आपके एक allocated time होना चाहिए 2 or 3 hours, जहाँ पे आप ये जितने भी हमने फ्रंट डिस्कस करें उनको आप प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं. All the best for your interview. Also, no matter how much you prepare, until unless you don't give a mock exam, right? Like a mock exam नहीं देते तब तक aptitude test का feel नहीं आता है ना. तो इसी तरह if you are preparing for IPM at Rohtak interview, we are also having our PI workshop going on right now. You can check out the courses at AceIPM.com. Also, for the PI workshop, we will give you two mock interviews for your Rohtak, give you a proper aligned review of what all things you need to work on. And this enrollment into PI workshop will also be available for your Indore as well. So if you feel like there's a very small token price to this course, you can check that out from the description link below. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for staying till the end. You can like the video if it helped you. Take it. Bye bye.